Hi everybody, thank you for coming in. My name is Hila Singh. I am the Data Visualization and GIS Specialist right here at the library. And what that means is that I identify and try to teach to the best of my ability any type of technology or programs that help students and researchers and faculty here with their research and identifying their data and visualizing it. So today our workshop is Visualizing Data, Creating Infographics with Vengage. Vengage is a free program. At the level we're going to use today is a free program. As this is a faculty and staff workshop, we are just going to use the basic functionalities of this program. And there is also a more advanced licensing option that I usually use in my classes. Or I will use in my classes because this is the first semester we are piloting this program. The more advanced version has some advanced capability that we don't really need at this moment for this workshop. But there are some similar capabilities, like you can have social media sharing in every single licensing option. So it is a great way to use as like an advocacy tool. So that is my favorite thing to do. Another thing to keep in mind that this is a faculty and staff workshop, and as such, we are here to just learn about this as an option and to have fun. I know a lot of some faculty has or staff discussed with me that, you know, they see all these infographics and they find them kind of scary, kind of terrifying, because they're like, do I need to be a graphic designer to do that? And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. That's why we have all these awesome programs so that you don't even have to worry about this. Like, everything is pretty much built for you. We have templates, we have the colors selected for you, the font selected for you. Don't even worry about it. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take the pressure off. We're just going to enjoy the process. And, you know, if you actually do take a class, if you're actually a student that take a class that is about infographics, I will be super strict with you and you will totally have to connect all your research data to it. But for us, no, let's just chill. Okay? So I'm going to start with a little bit of theoretical background about what is infographics and how we can translate the knowledge and the research that we do and connect imagery with statistics and narrative. We're going to differentiate between data visualization and infographics and learn about some considerations when creating an infographic. Okay, data visualization is the process of presenting data in graphical form. According to Oracle.com, data visualization is useful for the analytical process because it allows us to spot patterns, trends, and correlations that otherwise might go unnoticed in traditional reports, tables, or spreadsheets. Additionally, studies show that humans respond to visuals better than any other type of stimuli. The human brain processes visual information 60,000 times faster than text. In fact, again, according to Oracle.com, visual data accounts for 90% of the information transmitted to the brain. Infographics, an infographic, which stands for information graphic, is a representation of information in a graphic format, which is designed to make the data easily understandable at a glance. The purpose of infographic is to quickly communicate a message and to simplify the presentation of large amount of data. So really, what's the difference based on these definitions? According to Adobe.com, which for those of you who are not familiar with Adobe, they make a lot of design programs in a shell. They suggest that whereas all infographics have a data visualization component, not all data visualization is an infographic. They suggest that data visualization have graphic elements, but infographics are a little bit more artistic and have the human touch throughout, whereas data visualization begin with an app and have like a large data spreadsheet, and, you know, an infographics is just like much more artistic and human touch to it. Okay. So for those of you who are here to learn also about using infographics in the classroom, the Learning Network, which is offered at the New York Times, they offered 10 ways to teach math and more using infographics. And They offer different lesson plans that are actually related to some of the articles that are offered at the New York Times. Some of the ways they discuss are like telling a story, compare and contrast, think critically. But one of my favorite ones are Make It Your Year, where you essentially work with your student to present whatever year it is and whatever data or statistics that happen throughout the year, presenting that in charts and graphs, and just talking about this in the classroom and whatever that's relevant to your discipline. If anybody is interested in exploring any of those and how these infographics work in your classroom, let me know and we can work through that. Okay. So planning an infographic. And for that, in your handouts, this is a handout I give to students in the classroom, and that helps them to work through the different stages of identifying the topic and creating kind of quick and dirty research strategy, where to collect the data, et cetera, et cetera. And these are the stages that we're going to go through right now. So planning an infographic, the first part is that you identify your topic. So today in Bad Ideas, Forbes suggested that Amazon should replace libraries, and people aren't having it. Who read this article? Who read the Forbes article, actually? Ooh, lucky. Okay, I haven't even read the original article. I just saw the backlash of it and heard how ridiculous it was. Essentially, for those of you who are not familiar, excuse me, pop-ups. There was an article by an economist from Long Island University that suggested that public university takes too much tax money, and because of that, we need to shut them down, all of them, and replace them with Amazon stores. I know, right? So they got a lot of backlash, and within 2-3 days, Forbes took out this article. Yes. So what we're going to create today, we are going to create a comeback, essentially, where we're going to create an infographic explaining the different services and the impact on the community that these services have. And I promise it will be fun. Okay, so research strategy. So this is this research triangle. So the top of it is burning problem. And the burning problem is really like the main question of what you're trying to research. Supporting questions are usually the what or why questions, so just like the next level questions. And then the probing questions are which or how, you know, really trying to like get in the why these things actually happen in society or what impact they have. Okay, so translating that to our discussion today. The burning problem is that there is misinformation or misperception about the importance of public and academic libraries. The supporting question is, what services do libraries actually provide? And the probing question is, why are these services important to the public, and what impact do these services have on the public? So this is a very rough mock-up of what a infographic will be structured as. So you can see the burning problem, which I guess it's not really a problem, it's more of an answer. Libraries are awesome. The supporting questions are answered by patrons can access info and can learn skills. And the probing questions we are in here was what impact it has is that, you know, then patrons in the community are informed, they're healthy because they have access to health sources, health information sources, and are financially stable because they're able to access career information and stuff like that. Okay, so step 3 is collect data, which is where a fantastic library helps out. And the fourth part is to visualize your data. So now that you have actually collected data, and again, this is for the classroom example, not for the faculty and staff workshop example, the types of, you can visualize based on the type of data. So if you have categorical data, or do you have interval or ratio data, you will use different types of visualizations. And there's I don't want to say an exact science, but there's definitely like a lot of type of typologies that you can find online for what to use when. I really like the other types and goals of visualizations. And if you look at the second page of this handout, there's a table that identifies the goal of the visualization, the definition of what that actually means, and then what visualization is appropriate for this type of goal. So, for example, if you want to inform individual, you can use large titles like 75% of all suits are blue. If you're trying to show change, you can use a line chart or a timeline. If you're trying to organize by hierarchy or groups, you can use stuff like pyramid or word clouds. So that just helps the student think about how they're going to visualize the data that they have. The next part is to make it beautiful. So how do you make things beautiful? You organize them, you section them. And in terms of creating an infographic, it means that you use a grid layout. And all that it does is just section what information goes in each part. And if you'll remember, sections and a grid layout. And okay, the next thing is information flow. We are writing, for the purpose of this exercise, we're writing in English, which means that our information flows from top to bottom and from left to right. I speak Hebrew also, so sometimes I do infographics in Hebrew, and that means that they go from right to left and from top to bottom. So that depends on the language and your context. So that means the information flow again goes from top to bottom and from left to right, like that. Okay, how to use colors. Colors have three main purposes. They create contrast, group elements, and encode quantity. So we can see that there is one shape that is not like the others, just like we can tell right here that there is one shape that's not like the others. However, if we use color to create contrast, it's much easier to identify which one is the odd one out. Additionally, we can use it to group elements. We can see that there's this business strategy. It has 3 categories, and each one of them has their own 3 subcategories, etc., etc. If you use this type of grouping, it is much easier to see that you have these 3 actual different departments and what each one of them does. Lastly, encoding quantity. Within the same color, the human eye, like a normal human eye, can identify up to 5 different levels with no problems. But if you use a couple of more colors, for example, if you add a little bit of yellow into that blue, you can identify, normal eye can identify 9 to 11 levels. And you can see that when you look at different maps like median income maps or stuff like that, that you can really see that there's only a limited amount of what the human eye can identify in those different levels. Fonts. Fonts also have 3 purposes. They impact legibility and readability. They create a sense of visual hierarchy on the page, and they evoke emotions and have personality, and we will show you that. Okay, so legibility is the human eye's ability to actually identify the letter or the word itself. So we can tell that this guy is significantly more difficult to identify, especially if you were from, a pretty substantial distance. Readability is when you have a longer text, when you read from, a longer period of time, how much strain on the eye you're going to feel. So on the left, we have the quick brown fox that is super pixelated, and we probably don't want to read a book that's entirely in this font, as opposed to this smoother font right here. Additionally, they create a sense of visual hierarchy on the page. So a normal page in a regular 12-point font will look kind of boring and you're not really sure what's happening, but it's much easier to identify what's the title, what are you seeing here, and the different sections if you're using different sizes and bolding different parts of the text. Lastly, evoking emotions. Please answer this. Which one of those is happy? The right one, yay, ding, ding, ding. What makes it happier?
It's more playful writing.
It's more playful. It has a little bounce to it, yeah. Right? If you actually look like the Y, it actually looks like smiles. Yeah. So there is type of like a little bit of personality here. Okay. Come back here. Which one of those is trustworthy? The right. What if you have Comic Sans font on like your public defender's business card? Not that you need a public defender, right? But if you did, would you want to see Comic Sans on it? No, you wouldn't. Why? Because it's like the previous one is kind of childish. Is it really appropriate? Right? You want somebody who's trustworthy, who's solid. which you want them also to be confident. This one, probably on the left, you assume is more confident because it's bold. It's taking a little bit more space. It looks like it's really stable and grounded. All right, lastly, size, and I'm not saying everything has to be 50, 25, and 20-point size, but if you are talking about putting a header, a subheader, and a body copy, obviously you want to make sure that your header is at its largest size, the subheader is a little smaller, and the body copy is in a small, yet not too small, of a size. So then all of these considerations are going into, this page number 3, where the students can sketch it out while taking these considerations, being reminded of these considerations as they sketch out the infographic that is relevant to their own assignment. Okay. Any questions about this part?